today's episode of Mission Unknown, we're at the famous, or you could say infamous, Holland Road, where supposedly the legend of the Pigman abides. So today we're going to go through and see if we can find any evidence of Pigman. Yep. So follow us as we go through the tunnel. We'll do a little bit of background history on who William Derricks was, supposedly the Pigman, and we'll go into some more history of some of the surrounding areas, because it was a horrific event here.
One of the worst train disasters in American history happened right in this general area.
Just a few miles down the creek. So come with us, let's go on an adventure.
On a cold, blustery afternoon in December 1867, two young men walked near the railroad tracks close to a small village in western New York. The teenagers, likely cold and shivering, walked quickly, trying to keep themselves warm. Their eyes scanned the ground near the tracks in search of the precious black lumps that would bring their family warmth during the night: coal. Trains would oftentimes leave these precious scraps as they thundered down the tracks, the lumps jostling out of the train cars, waiting patiently for Henry and Lauren Derricks to scoop them into their buckets. The boys, cold and impatient to be home near the warmth of a blazing hearth, spotted a few large, heavy ties from the railroad tracks. These weighty wooden braces that the rails would be attached to would be perfect as braces, which the boys needed to repair a broken piece of fencing per their father's instructions. The ties would save them the trouble of finding something later, when it would be even colder outside. Satisfied with their good fortune, the lads smiled at each other and hurried home, minds already turned to the warmth that awaited them there. Yet little did they know, they had just inadvertently doomed more than 50 men, women, and children to a horrifying end as they burned to death on the gravelly banks of Big Sister Creek, site of the now infamous Angola Horror. The Lakeshore Express line skimmed the Great Lakes and made stops in Cleveland, Erie, Dunkirk, and others as it lumbered along the tracks towards its fateful end on the afternoon of December 18, 1867.
So we're just taking a walk into the tunnel now, just so we can show everybody what it looks like, what's all in it. Got some sweet graffiti here. It's actually kind of creepy. It's still pretty bright daylight out. We got the Here Piggy sign. And we're just hoping there's no cars coming as I'm wandering about through here. All right, so we are now in the tunnel. We're going to do a few EVP sessions just to see if anything comes up. And I have my little handy dandy recorder here. And Tom has his EMF meter.
And the digital audio recorder.
And we're just doing what we can to make sure not to get mowed over by cars.
Is anybody here with us? Now is a perfect opportunity to make your voice heard. William Derricks, are you here? Did you die in a fire on this road?
We know how this town treated you. It was not cool.
The townspeople were often mean to you. Do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
You can say it to them right in either of our devices in our hands here.
So far in the EMF reading, I haven't gotten a single thing. We're at 0.0 the entire time we've been in here. At a cool 77 degrees. So nothing showing so far in the EMF meter, but
still just bright daytime too. We're gonna be back here at the night when the lights go down a little bit.
The history regarding this whole area is actually really, really interesting. Especially given the train accident and the legend of the Pigman, which, as you can see right here on the stone, they have a little salute to him, Pigman rules.
Yeah, it became a very popular local legend in the town that pretty much everyone around in Western New York knows where this is. There's been Travel Channel and everything have been here.
She was behind schedule, almost 3 hours behind, and Newton, the telegrapher in the Angola telegraph office, watched the train pass at roughly 3 p.m. that afternoon. 10 minutes after Newton saw the train last, the end car derailed, rocking back and forth on the tracks like a bobber. Slowly at first, then gaining momentum, it lurched drunkenly back and forth. The passengers panicked, running towards the front of the train, but the swaying motion threw them around like ragamuffins. Many were trampled to death or smothered by the throng of passengers attempting to flee the shaking train car. As the express started over the 160-foot Big Sister Bridge, the end car uncoupled from the train, plummeting down into the icy waters of the creek below, flipping several times before smashing to the gorge floor. The second to last car, off balance now, held the track for a few more desperate moments. Then it shakingly crossed the bridge and began to slowly climb the embankment on the other side. But fate was not with the car that day. The motion and unbalancing caused by the end car's decoupling led to the car finally tipping over, rolling end over end down towards and then over the embankment, straight into the gorge below. Passengers were tossed around inside the car like toys, many sustaining serious injuries. The end car passengers who survived the fall into the gorge began to burn as the red-hot coals had tumbled about the car from the pot-bellied stove, igniting the kerosene from the gas lamps, causing the car to go up in an inferno of flames. The screams of those burning to death haunted the onlookers from the village who, by this time, had reached the banks of the river.
So right now we're doing a walkthrough. Another brief session. About the liveliest thing we've seen so far is a chipmunk in front of Mike. If there's anybody there who'd like to say anything, now is a good time. Is there anything inside the tunnel? How long have you been here? What's your name?
Many villagers who ran to the scene of the wreck would report the smell of flesh in the air and the screams of the dying, loud in the night air as the car burned. Several passengers rushed to the aid of those trapped in the cars, one upside down, but few, if any, were saved. Of the 50 passengers in the end car, only 3 survived the horror, and famed business tycoon John D. Rockefeller would have been seated in this very car had he not been late arriving at the Cleveland station, missing the Lakeshore Express by minutes. Throughout the remainder of the night, villagers and local authorities helped those who survived and other injured victims. Doctors arrived later that night from Buffalo, seeing to those they could save and help the victims who had tragically burned. In the end, the bodies of the deceased were carried to Angola Depot, where they were placed in caskets and sent by funeral train to Buffalo. A memorial was held on December 22nd in Buffalo's Exchange Street Depot, choirs from local churches singing hymns for the souls slain on that terrible, tragic day.
So I decided to go out kind of outside the tunnel a little bit. Tom's over in there doing EVP recordings, just to see if I can pick anything up on the little outskirts here. I'm not allowed to go in the woods. There's all sorts of posted signs, and I obey the law like a good boy. So we're just seeing if anything's hiding out in the woods, anything wants to come say hi. Or if you want to speak to us, feel free to say it right in my little recorder here. Anyone out there? Coming to say hi.
Though there were 19 people claimed to be in the caskets, some of them reportedly held the remains of 2 to 3 victims, though the total number interred at Forest Lawn Cemetery will never truly be known. In the end, one of the worst train disasters in the nation's history was unwittingly caused by 2 boys merely looking for coal. The family's terrible secret was kept safe with local authorities, lest the outcry from the revelation turn into a witch hunt for the poor, unwitting accomplices to the terrible destruction that took place on that fateful afternoon in 1867.
So here we are, first tunnel, second tunnel, whatever you want to call it, but it's one of the train tunnels on Holland Road. We're not quite sure where the house of William Derricks was. It's somewhere on this road. And I do have our digital recorder here, so we're going to see if we can get anything, ask a few questions. EMF meter, and we'll see what we can get, right, Mike?
Yeah, see what we can get. Let's see what we can do.
Is anyone here with us?
Except this car coming.
Would anybody like to say anything to us? You can get your voice heard right through this device. William, can you hear us? Did you die in the fire? Did your wife die in the fire? Do you hate the people in this town?
Shoot your gun if you do.
Are any of the victims of the horrific train accident still here with us that would like to say anything? Well, I think that'll about wrap it up for tunnel 1 or 2. We haven't gotten any EMF readings as of yet. It's been pretty dead. We haven't really heard much on the recordings, but we'll keep at it and find out what we can find out.
Yeah, see what we can do.
On a quiet, country road in a small rural town lurks the darkness, a creature prowling in the night, waiting to wreak retribution on those who mocked and tormented him. Should any souls be brave enough to travel down Holland Road, also known as Pigman Road in the quaint village of Angola, New York, they may find the Pigman waiting in the shadows. This urban legend, one of the many that take place right here in the Western New York region, has been the topic of the popular Travel Channel show Hometown Horror and is an iconic ghost story told by local residents. The beginning of the Pigman tale harks back to the Derricks family, specifically Loring and his wife, Betsy. Loring and his brother Henry allegedly had a part in causing the Angola Horror Train wreck of 1867 by removing some railroad ties for firewood. The family kept this secret lest the townspeople learn the truth, which would result in mob justice.
We are on top of the first bridge in Holland Road. We're just easily climbing up here like a couple of majestic gazelles.
By majestic, you mean extraordinarily clumsy.
Yeah, we're just kind of investigating, seeing what's out here.
So we're here on the train tracks, and you can imagine the Buffalo Pacific Railroad coming down on that fateful day in December 1867. And a few of these would have been missing, causing the train to actually derail.
And the one documentary saw called it a fatal wobble, which I love that term.
Exactly.
Fatal wobble.
And you can imagine the terror and the fear as the train is just careening off the bridge, and the last two cars, the fire and the iron stove, the coals coming out, dumping down on the passengers, lighting the kerosene lanterns, burning everyone. It must have been horrific.
Yeah, they said the people who were just crushed and asphyxiated to death were the lucky ones. Like the rest just slowly burned alive with those coals, which, oh man, we're about to do fauna in this thing. So yeah, this is the tracks that were leading to that horrible disaster. And then coming up nighttime here, we're gonna see if we can find ourselves a pigman.
Fast forward to around 1908, the town of Angola is seeing an economic boom. Loring and his brother Henry work at the newly constructed Emblem Bicycle Factory. Loring marries Betsy Crabtree of Brockton, who is considered an outcast because her parents, first cousins, married. Betsy was mildly mentally challenged, likely due to this crossing of close family genes. Betsy gave birth to their only child, William Derricks, in 1913. A mysterious fire ravaged the town in 1904, the worst ever in village history. Many accused Henry of starting the fire, for he was seen around town the night it began. After continual harassment from village residents, he went west to Texas or Alaska to escape the torment. The inhabitants then turned their ambitions on Loring and Betsy. The young couple were shunned and unable to even join the newly established St. Paul Episcopal Mission, as they were shunned by its members. The Derricks were so spurned, they were never included in any official town records, outcast forever. The region continued to prosper and see new businesses and opportunities arise for the citizens of Angola. Loring and Betsy did their best to get by and become accepted by the town. So much so that on July 4th, 1911, Loring offered to light the fireworks for the town's annual fireworks display, at no cost. But the lingering family curse struck again, and falling sparks ignited the fireworks, injuring several people and severely crippling a small boy. The village was sued and forced to pay $11,500 to the boy's family. Loring and Betsy became recluses, rarely leaving their home in Holland Road. In 1913, William was born, and instead of a joyful circumstance, it was full of despair, as the baby was severely deformed. With a cleft lip and a split pig-like nose, the Derricks family continued on in solitude, keeping William at home to avoid any further tormentation from the townspeople.
So as Tom's catching his breath from that precarious trail we just took, I'm just getting some footage on this other road, on this other tunnel on the old Pigman Road. This one looks a bit more beat up. Got a pentagram, that's good. The legends say you start hearing some pig noises, which I'm not going to imitate right now. And if I hear any, you'll be able to see how fast I can run.
So we're finally here. We've arrived at our first nighttime investigation here at Holland Road. We've done several sweeps throughout both of the tunnels and haven't really found anything, but we're going to do our trusty ESP SB11 spirit box, and also going to do some EVP and watch our EMF meter. So we're going to dive into the darkness and find out what's there.
We're gonna try not getting hit by a car.
William grew up and made a friend of a nearby butcher on a neighboring road. The term Pigman and of William being a butcher seemed to stem from this friendship. However, William was really only a servant, cleaning the mess made by the butcher in everyday activities. After leaving home for a stint in various sideshow acts and oddity shows for P.T. Barnum and Ripley, William finally returned home. He took a job at the landfill and garbage dump, which was built next to his property. As the night watchman and morning gatekeeper, he was tasked with ensuring no illegal dumping occurred during his shifts and opened the gates in the morning for the morning deliveries. At around the age of 35, William married Mildred Crabtree, his cousin. Years pass, the town grows, and William continues to work between the traveling shows and the sanitation company. Him and Mildred become hoarders, scavenging oddities from his job at the dump, collecting items he deems valuable, and hiding many of these treasures around the property. To protect his belongings, he would put pig heads on spikes and line the driveway with them. Alternatively, goat, cow, or sheep heads would also be used, deterring intruders from entering his domain. Some believe this was the origin of the Pigman nickname, or perhaps his rooting through the garbage at the dumps may have caused it, or a combination of both plus his deformities. So given the history of the area and both tragedies that occurred here, hopefully we can record some EVPs and possibly get some evidence of any paranormal activity and see if anything has anything to say.
Yeah.
So we'll start with some EVPs. Stand still for a moment. Is anyone here with us? Now's your time to speak. William Derricks, are you here with us? Did you die in the fire? With your son? It's a light out there. I thought it was a car coming. I didn't realize that there was a light out there.
Maybe we should stay closer to the
Edges?
edges, yeah, just the...
Well, I was going to maybe we go down towards this side a little bit. Just kind of walk through. Are any of the victims of the Lakeshore train disaster lingering? The terrible accident that happened, any of the victims that tragically died, can you say anything to us?
William Derricks, is there anything you want to say to the town that hated you? Any kind of message you want to give them? You could let me or Tom know in our little devices here.
So we're going to. Mildred died in 1966 and was reportedly buried illegally on the property. The couple had 3 children, William Jr. and 2 twin daughters, although no birth records were ever recorded for the twins. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Holland Road becomes more isolated. The dump closes, and soon the road is a popular destination for teens to hang out, drink beer, and party in private. Reports of a monster, a pigman, coming up to teens in their cars and banging on the steam windows is never fully founded by police. The police query William about the incidents to no avail. The first person reported missing in the area around Holland Road was Harris Tompkins, a utility worker doing home-to-home surveys for the utility company. He was last seen visiting homes near Holland Road. The disappearances lead authorities to search the vicinity. At the Derricks' home, they found horrid squalor, the home packed with newspapers, garbage, feces, and animals. A child was found living in the home, perhaps 11 years old. He was presumed to be William Jr. On October 31st, 1973, All Hallows Eve, a fire breaks out at the Derrick homestead, burning it down to the foundation. No bodies were ever recovered, either that of William Sr. or Jr. In the mid-1970s, strange travelers were reported to visit the area. Locals found huts in the woods, mutilated animals hanging from the trees, strange graffiti, and even gypsies. Perhaps friends of William from his traveling show days, or family members paying tribute to the Pigman. We're doing a spirit box section here, and we'll see if we can pick up anything. Is there anyone here that would like to say anything to us? Now's a good time to speak into the box.
Does anyone have any messages for us? Anything they want to say?
William, are you here?
Are you here with us right now, William?
Did you die in the fire? Are you the Pigman? Are any of the train victims from the Lakeshore Express that tragically died here?
William, do you have a message for anyone in this town?
Is there anyone that wants to say anything? Do you miss your wife, William? Is your house on this road? Did it burn? Did you start the fire? Can anyone hear us? you like us being here?
Are we disturbing you?
Well, now is our final goodbye to the legendary Pigman Road, which is quite the urban legend here in the Western New York area. May have caught some things with EVP, we're not sure, maybe on the spirit box, but once we get back to HQ, we'll kind of look it over.
And I will admit, just kind of being here and being like inside the tunnel, not just worrying about getting run over by some car. It's kind of creepy in there. Even when it's starting to get a little dark, it's a little creepy in that tunnel. So I see why people don't like driving down here.
Yeah, it's definitely a very out-of-the-way area and interesting history throughout the entire thing. So we hope you enjoyed the show and learned some things about Pigman Road and the terrible train accident that happened right here in Western New York. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Mission
Unknown.
To this day, strange sounds can be heard at night on Holland Road. Cries, screams, and mysterious squeals echo throughout the woods. Sightings of the Pigman himself, walking down the side of the road, waiting to torture those foolish enough to stop on the roadside. Bizarre occurrences with electronics malfunctioning, smell of coal in the air, and the list continues on and on. All seemingly related to either the Pigman legend or the terrible train tragedy of the late 1800s. If you do wander down Holland Road at night, one thing is certain: you may encounter something you don't want to, as the dead hold to the past and seek vengeance on those foolish enough to wander Holland Road. So take heed, traveler. Beware the Pigman.